All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. We're a little after 4 getting started, but Rob, would you like to start with check-in while Kerr finishes settling in?
Sure. Good afternoon. I'm Robert Dodig. I am well. I have no time constraints. Heather Leonard is missing and will not be here this evening. Dr. Johnston is on her way. Teresa Bowen, I don't know her whereabouts. Maybe she'll be here. Haven't heard from Teresa today. I have no elephants. Expectation is to make progress.
Okay, thank you. Will?
I am Will Rothenberg. I'm Director of Compensation and Labor Relations. Doing well, no time constraints. Missing from the district side is noted. It looks like Luis and better glasses. No elephants. Expectation. I'll go with make progress.
Hi, I'm Kelly Letcher. I'm fine. No time constraints. Missing is noted. No elephants, and I'll go with make progress as well.
Hello, my name is Kevin Kelfie. I'm doing well. I have no time constraints. Missing has been noted. Wow.
Whoa.
Thanks, Will. Expectations to make progress.
Hello, I'm Bonnie. I am well. No time constraints beyond the end of the meeting. Missing is noted. No elephants. Expectations make progress.
Good evening, my name is Roger. I'm doing well. I do not have any time constraints except the 7 o'clock scheduled time. Missing has been noted, no elephants, and I'd like to continue to make progress.
Good afternoon, I'm Jason Kurtz. I'm amazing. I have no time constraints. Missing is noted. I don't have any elephants I'm aware of, and let's go with make progress.
My name is Jamie Browner. I am great, no time constraints, no elephants, and make progress.
Hi, I'm Marcia Burr. I am fine. I have no time constraints, missing noted, no elephants, and I'll go with make progress.
Hi, I'm Candy Messenger. I'm doing well, no time constraints, missing has been noted. I have no elephants, and my expectation is to make progress.
Good afternoon. I'm doing well. My name is Barbara Cedino, Maintenance Director. No time constraints. Missing as noted. No elephants. Expectations to continue making progress.
Go ahead, Kerr.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Kerr Fazone. I'm doing well. Have no time constraints. Jimmy Young is also missing. And Luis Rodriguez. No elephants, and I will go with make progress.
Good afternoon, my name is Lois DeBay. I'm well, no time constraints. Missing has been noted. No elephants and expectations, make progress.
Good afternoon, my name is Arlise Williams. I am well, no time constraint. Well, I take that back, 7 o'clock. Missing has been noted and no elephants, and my expectation is to make progress.
My name is Roger Coulson. I'm doing great, no time constraints. Missing has been noted, no elephants, and expectations make progress.
Good afternoon, my name is Patrice Coates. I am awesome, time constraint 7 p.m. Missing has been noted, no elephants, and I agree expectations will be this be a productive meeting.
Hello, my name is Tony Abrams. I'm doing great. I have no time restraints. Missing has been noted, no elephants for me at this time. My expectations is to make progress.
Hello, my name is Deborah Evans. I'm well, no time restraint. no elephants. My expectation is to make progress.
Yes, hi, good afternoon. My name is Chris Cox. I'm doing well. I have no time constraints. Missing's been noted. There's no elephants, and expectations is to make progress as well.
Rosie?
I'm Rosie Perez. I'm well, no time constraints. Missing has been noted, no elephants, and expectations to make progress.
Hey, and I'm Michelle Robinson. I am doing well. No time constraints. And this has been noted, no elephants, and also like
And hello again, I'm Donna Montanard. I'm doing well this evening. I have no time constraint. And my expectation is to help you get through the process of tonight. All right, we do have an agenda. I believe you had one in front of you tonight. We have minutes, Article 12 leave, Article 10 compensation, ESSER fund, and then checkout on the agenda this evening. So minutes were from, I don't even remember, 12/5, December 5th. So I believe they were sent out. Everybody should have had a chance to read them. Are there any corrections or deletions? Kurt?
I don't remember receiving the draft minutes.
We'll check, see if they were sent. That was calc, January 9th. Yep.
Not seeing them, so we'll send them along with tonight's in the next day or two.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you. All right. So much for minutes. Article 12 leave. We have a snapshot on that, Teresa. Article 12. Okay, go ahead, Will.
I think we had talked about Article 12 at the last SPALC labor management meeting and saying that it wouldn't be something that we would be looking to implement midway through the year. It would be something that would be like a July 1st implementation date. And so I think there was a request to kind of table Article 12 for now so that we can focus on Article 10 and reaching a TA in hopes that we can come back soon thereafter and start talking about what Article 12 would look like for the following bargaining sessions.
Okay. Anything from SPALC, Kurt?
That was the agreement from labor management. Didn't know if you wanted to record that as an option formally or not.
Let's just put it in the minutes. We don't need to necessarily record it as an option. We can put it in the minutes that SPALC labor management discussed leave and just asked if we could table until a later date for a July 1st implementation. For later discussion and a July 1st implementation. Thank you. Okay, well, that leaves us one thing. Article 10 and the part of compensation to do with ESSER funding. So do we have a story on that? Rob?
Yeah, I don't know if we had a snapshot, I'm sure we did, but if you recall, those of you that were involved in bargaining or in the district last year, we provided bonuses from money that was provided to the district from the federal government as a result of COVID. And that grant of money is commonly known as ESSER. So we still have, the district has money allocated for that purpose. And the board has given us additional authority to bargain another bonus with the collective bargaining units. So that's what we're here for tonight to discuss.
Okay, thank you. Just to let us get that down. Anything else? Her?
This isn't ESSER related, but it's compensation related. In the conversation with the board, was there any additional dollars made available to discuss the compression issue from the August 1st, compression to $15 an hour MOU that we signed? There was an intent on SPALC side to, or I believe on both sides, to come back to the table and discuss these compression issues. So are there only ESSER dollars available or board dollars as well?
No, there's other dollars also. I will say though, Kerr, not to mislead anyone, I'm not sure that dollar amount will necessarily take care of the compression issue completely. I mean, it's the devil's in the details, obviously. So, as we've been negotiating with the other bargaining unit, and we'll certainly have that conversation here, our authority has been chipped away at because of the hurricane. So, so as to not get bogged down in that conversation, that's why we wanted to split out this ESSER conversation. The ESSER money has not been impacted by the hurricane, so that's why we want to proceed in the fashion that we are tonight.
Her?
So just to make sure I understood, so there are dollars available. The district is, I guess, for lack of a better, we're not prepared to discuss those dollars tonight, but we can talk about the ESSER pot then.
Correct, yes.
Right, cool, let's move forward then.
Okay.
Thank you.
Rob, do you have anything to add about the ESSER funding?
I mean, I'll simply cut to the chase. This bonus would be, once again, a retention bonus is what we would call it. So an individual, and as usual, we have to discuss some of the details, maybe in a smaller session at labor management, but the individuals would obviously have to be working for the district at the time the bonus is paid, be actively working, not on leave other than FMLA, and they would receive the bonus if they return from leave when they return. And the amount the district is committed to providing with, this is annoying, this microphone, with the ESSER funding is $1,200 per employee.
Her?
What is that total pot of money? The total size of the ESSER allocation?
Yeah, it's approximately $15 million. The budget director says that's for everyone, obviously, for the entire district employment force, right?
Okay.
It's like, that's not adding up, right? When would you be able to pay the bonus?
Well, I think we could do it as soon as the end of March. The dilemma is ratification, so, but my payroll director has indicated that he could potentially pay the $1,200 before taxes, by the way, on the March 31st paycheck.
You said that 1,200 was before taxes, so, or that was the payment that they would receive in their check?
Taxes would be taken out of that.
Of the 1,200,
yes.
okay.
And for those that aren't aware, you would be taxed either when it's paid or you'd have to pay the taxes later when you do your taxes. So it's pay now or later.
Thank you. Arlise?
I have a couple of questions. So, you said, that someone was on family medical leave.
Is your mic on?
On my other.
We have some people in the audience. I want to make sure
Okay.
everybody can hear.
So you said that we will pay for family medical leave once they come back off leave.
No, I think in the past, we've paid those that are on FMLA at the time.
Okay.
It's other types of leave, Arlise.
Okay. So my question is, are we paying all people on leave? Are we gonna pay the people on maternity leave? Are we gonna pay the people that just suddenly got sick and they have to be off of work?
Because both of those things you just described could be FMLA, so they would be paid. But if you're just on a leave of absence,
okay,
not unrelated to health,
okay,
you would receive it when you return. Yes, Kevin?
Go ahead, Kevin.
So just to clarify with payment surrounding leaves. So how we've done leaves in the past is if they're on FMLA and your leave does not extend past your FMLA period, once you return, you would receive payment. If you're just on a leave of absence during payment, we have not paid those. So I just wanted to clarify that. So if we're doing something different, I would just want to write it down.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, so we had people last school term, and when, we gave out the ESSA bonuses before, all of a sudden took sick, had operations, whatever, did not get the money. So that's what I'm trying to see, are those people gonna qualify? What do we need to tell our people? So if somebody suddenly gets sick, whatever, they gotta be hospitalized. So what do we need to tell them? We need to tell them to make sure they do their, okay, so if they, suddenly get sick, are we telling our people to do family medical leave where they can get this bonus?
Yes, go ahead.
So a couple of clarifications. One is, one of the bonuses was based on attendance last time. However, we're not dictating anything to you all. We're here to negotiate. So if the parties can come to an agreement regarding the amount, who gets it obviously is something to bargain also. So we're willing to listen tonight to who you think should be eligible. However, it's very difficult to determine if someone's going to return from leave and pay them $1,200 and then they don't come back to work for the district. So that's why it's called a retention bonus.
Absolutely, and I was talking about upon returning also. So another question that I have to make sure, you said 15 million, is that 15 million that's in the pot, or is that 15 million after every employee get the $1,200?
That's the pot, that's what's to spend district-wide for our over 12,000 employees.
Anything else? Okay. Anybody else have any other questions? Kurt?
I think we would like to caucus.
Okay,
20 minutes?
okay.
And we're good, we don't need to call
You don't
this.
need caucus, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Okay then, Corey, you want to report out?
So our team discussed the option on the table, and I think we're ready to move forward with an option.
Okay.
But if I can just have one point of personal privilege, I neglected to do this when we did our introductions. I just want you all to know my colleague Lois. Lois Dubé is the new service unit director for Island Coast FEA and will be serving as a primary lead for SPALC. So that you know who she is. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. All right, so let's do official options here. We kind of wrote it as story before, so if you can put up options. And the first option would be $1,200 bonus, retention bonus. And that would be number 1. Anything else we need to add to that, Rob, other than that? All right, correct.
And we discussed some of the stipulations with for those folks that are on FMLA leave. They would be paid when they return from FMLA. And I believe the other words that we used were payroll active in the previous version.
Anything else, Kirk? That's it? Anything else, Rob?
I don't know if you want to put the actively working and the potential March 31st date?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we need. No, this would
Make it
be
3.
Actively working. And 4 would be payout March 31st, 2023.
Yeah.
That's all I can do is actively working. Yep. Yes.
Not FMLA will be paid,
No.
bonus will be paid, yeah. And I know you guys can't see it over there, so.
Okay.
Can you turn that so they can?
We want to add up there the taxes, just for clarification for people who might see this later.
$1,200
retention
before taxes.
Before tax. Anything else we need to put up there?
Yeah, I think 5, what are we up to, 4?
4.
Yeah, 5 would be leaves of absence are excluded. Individuals on leaves of absence.
Rob, is this like unpaid leaves?
Essentially, yeah.
So vacation leave, none of that would be considered?
No.
So shall we add unpaid leave of absence are excluded? Kevin?
So there's various forms of leave. Some people can be actually on a paid leave of absence depending on the circumstance. So I don't know if we want to say that, if that's something we can do. So you can also take a leave of absence in conjunction with FMLA. It's just if the leave of absence extends past the FMLA window. So I think there's some fuzzy language around that. So that's why when you return, we make sure that the leave of absence didn't extend past the FMLA window.
So I guess one of those types of leave you're speaking of might be like a military leave. Were the folks historically, so in the past, when we did an ESSER bonus, anyone that was on military leave, were they given the bonus? Okay.
You heard him, he said he couldn't answer it on the spot, he'd have to look.
I just want to be consistent with what we did in, earlier this year, or last year now.
All right, so do we need to add anything else up there? Do I have a straw design then for this? Correct?
1 through 5.
Okay. So just underneath, right, straw design. Straw.
Straw.
And then write one, just put an A. Just an A, just instead of a number, we use letters. And then put options 1 through 5.
I don't want to mess you up.
And then if we had a different straw design, it would be B. Okay, so we have a straw design up there, options 1 through 5. Any other questions, clarifications needed to get it? All right. So do we want to take a?
Like to test it, yes.
Okay. So we have a straw design. We have straw design A, options 1 through 5. May I see thumbs, please? All right, we've got it. Now you can circle in orange. Circle the straw design in orange. Because we approved it. There. All right. Now, that was the only thing we had on the agenda. So where do we go?
I believe SPALC has some items, housekeeping or whatever.
Okay.
Well, we thought if the district was amenable, that we could move maybe and do, move into compensation a little bit and maybe do a little bit of story since it's only 5 o'clock.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we're going to do Bill Article 10. And then story. All right, so if you want to start with story, who'd like to start? All right, Kurt.
Good segue from one-time bonuses to recurring compensation. So part of the story right now relates to the compression that folks on the SPALC schedule are feeling as it related to, on July 1st, the minimum wage went to $15 an hour for school personnel. And when that happened, that forced a lot of compression onto the salary schedule. Try not to go too quickly, Donna.
Thank you. That's okay, not a problem, Michelle.
No, I know.
Okay.
And we're currently negotiating the contract for, what would this be, FY24? So for FY23, the ratified agreement included an 80-cent raise for last year, which across the board, which our members are struggling with keeping up with the rising costs due to inflation, among many other things. And the other thing that we've been hearing a lot around is the current market rate schedule and how the market rate wages are not keeping up with the rising costs as well. There's a remark in the SPALC contract, should have had this in front of me, that mentioned the move to market rate and that it was originally thought to be like a 5-year plan. And I think we may be in the 7th year of the 5-year plan, but there hasn't been adequate dollars, carved out by the board to move all positions over to the market rate and make it equitable.
Anybody else? Rob?
Yeah, and in some ways, I don't get to regret saying this because I may be left having to explain it, but I'm not sure people know what compression means. So I don't know, Kurt, do you want to give it a try? I mean, I could give it to Will, but I think Will and I may talk into too much legalese to to explain it to folks.
I think the easiest way to explain it was, and I'll get my numbers wrong, so I'll just pick a number. Say before the MOU was signed and ratified, and that MOU is on the labor relations page. It's the the minimum wage MOU. And it set a starting minimum regular rate of pay at $15 an hour. So if someone had a wage that was less than that, they immediately went from that wage to 15. But anybody that was 15, 1501, 16, they stayed where they were. And so there's some lines in this MOU. It says the parties agreed to discuss wage compression issues and will continue to provide a hold harmless for people that move between similar positions. That's the wage compression issue that we're speaking of. You know, some people may have received a $3 per hour increase where anyone at or over 15 received nothing.
Rob?
And the increase to $15 an hour is a great thing, but the thing that I think folks need to be aware of is we had literally no real notice of this happening. I mean, this was, I think, buried in the conforming bill on the last day of session, and we were singled out, and I think public hospitals, as the only two entities that had to get to $15 an hour by October 1st, with no additional funding to do that necessarily. So, and we did it even before we had to, but it has caused these reverberating issues with compression. So, and Kurt's right, we did agree that we would try to resolve that issue. Having said it already tonight, I'll say it again, we didn't anticipate on September 28th getting hit by Hurricane Ian. So that has changed some of this.
Okay.
Yeah, that is something that I neglected to say.
Hold on a second.
Oh, sorry.
She gets up. Scott?
Oh, that's really, yeah, no additional funds were, that's one of those nice unfunded mandates from Tallahassee. But yeah, the $15 an hour, we were required by law to have that done by October 1st, but both parties got together and had that ratified and effective date of August 1st. So we did that well ahead of schedule.
Oh, that's wrong.
Turn your mic on.
It's all right, I'd like to go back a little further in time, and I'm going to read you off of paper here, because I'm not probably the best public speaker, but I'll do my best with it. 5+ years ago, the former superintendent and President SPALC put on a production in the maintenance department, complete with a slideshow presentations in the morning and afternoon, telling us that they were implementing a new system of pay scale in lieu of steps. They started calling it flat rate. We were told that the computer software program that was purchased for roughly $6,000 would keep everybody current in their pay scale, as opposed to steps which were negotiated yearly. We were also told that salaries could be changed any time and made current with the market demand. We were also told there would be a clause in the contract saying nobody could ever go backwards regardless of the market demand. This agenda was ultimately called market rate, as is in the current contract language. As a licensed electrician, the rate was set so low that it had us question the legitimacy of the data from the beginning. There was apparently no consideration given for experience levels or licensing. We soon after requested to see data that was inputted as well as the results of the inputted data of this new computer program. We were repeatedly denied. We recently were to find out that the market rate program was a 5-year plan that could not be funded as originally planned. This market rate plan currently is nothing more than a salary schedule in which groups of people and departments were moved from one salary schedule to another. And in addition to this migration of moving people from one salary schedule to another, it was done ununiformly. They started with the smallest group, which is the maintenance department, and started implementing it to the next smallest group from there. It's our understanding that not all departments have been moved yet to the market rate. Myself and the people that I represent never sought employment with the school system thinking that we would become wealthy. However, we believe we would be treated fairly for our positions of expertise. This current salary schedule, regardless of what you'd like to call it and how it's been implemented, has caused a tremendous amount of hardship and strife for those of us who have remained loyal and hardworking to make the Lee County school system safe, secure, and welcoming to our children and staff.
Okay, anybody else? Anybody else have anything to add to story? Will?
I think to Rob's point earlier too about compression, there's a couple different types of compression, and the way that you respond to them depends. And so just to kind of make sure that we capture that for the minutes, there's the type of compression that I think Kerr was talking about. Some people might have experienced with the $15 an hour minimum wage increase, which is there's a new person hired in and they're now making as much as a person that's been working in that position for, let's say 10 years. The other type of compression issue has to do, normally it's called supervisor subordinate. So that would be where you have two positions with different levels of responsibility that are basically bumping into each other in terms of pay. So a good example and one area where we're experiencing it right now is in food services. When you look at food service workers and what assistant managers make and then what managers make, there's not a large spread. And those positions all have very different degrees of responsibility for the kitchen. I know the same is the case in transportation, where you have drivers and dispatchers, and historically I think people have seen moving from one position to the other as kind of moving up the ranks. I don't know that was necessarily something that was formal, but that was always kind of the understanding, was that if you were moving from one position to the other, that it was kind of a promotion. I think what Chris shared as far as the market rate stuff and some of the stuff that Kerr has said too, there are a lot of challenges to kind of add to or clarify kind of what Chris was saying about the history. The first year, the focus was on maintenance because they had recently been through a job study. So all of their job descriptions were current. That allowed for a better comparison with outside. There were positions that received 7 to I think like 12% increases in pay. Our HVAC positions are a good example. We were paying several dollars below the going rate for HVAC. LPNs are another one. We were $4 or $5 an hour below the going rate, and those were positions that historically we weren't able to hire people into. We weren't able to get people to apply for those positions. It was really hard to find people. We also looked at ALICE positions, which ALICE is an acronym. It's Asset Limited Income Constrained Employed. There's a study that's done every year that looks at that, and it basically helps define the working poor. So that's people that are able to, maybe make their ends meet, but aren't able to get ahead in terms of having any, measurable savings. People that have difficulty being able to get, enough money for a down payment to purchase a home, or to save for retirement. There was a large number of employees in the district in specific positions where all of those people fell into that definition. Food services was the big one. I think at that point we were maybe paying less than $10 an hour for our food service workers. They work on average, between 4 and 6 hours a day for 186 days a year. That puts them at somewhere around $20,000 a year annually. For someone who's working that much, that's not enough to sustain a household. I know we've gone back and we've looked at some of those numbers since then relative to some of the economic factors that Chris mentioned. Pricing indexes that show what the cost of goods and services are locally compared to the rest of the state, what buying power that gives you. We've looked at even how many people earning that salary would you need to be able to afford the average rent in Lee County. And I know that, again, that specifically impacts SPALC positions to a different degree. You add on top of that, like Kurt was saying, the crazy inflation, the cost of the hurricane, and what that's done to any little savings that people have. I know after Irma, we talked about people who kind of stockpiled food and then had it all destroyed with the power outages. I think all of those factors together are part of what people are feeling. And I think one of the biggest things, not to belabor the point, but just to put it in terms that I know everyone understands, we've talked about, there was always the problem of the person that's been working alongside you that doesn't do their job that gets paid just as much as you. Now we've added to that the person that's working alongside you who you're showing them how to do their job and they're getting paid just as much as you. So I think people are feeling that compression, that tension kind of on both ends, where historically, it was just one person working alongside you that you might become resentful of over time. Now it's possible that you feel that way about other people as well.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
When you mentioned the Alice report, I immediately thought of some of our members of whom SPALC represent that for the longest time were working for insurance. And I just want to throw it out there. It was a great thing that this group did was the increased health insurance subsidy for dependent care. And we're hearing stories where folks are saying that they're finally able to put their kids on the plan, which is huge. And oh man, I just lost my train of thought. Shifting gears just a little bit. In the past, Will, we've seen some of the data as it related to comparable pay with like-sized counties or comparable districts. SPALC has labor management this Wednesday. It'd be really nice if we could have some sort of updated kind of, just to kind of see where we are. I would also like to see where we are in relation to the jobs that are on market rate, whether we're at the 50th percentile, the 70th percentile. Do you have any idea off the top of your head kind of where we are kind of globally?
So when we started out, a lot of positions in the district were at or below the 30th percentile, which would mean 70% of people doing the exact same work as district employees were getting paid more. In moving to the market rate, the first step was to move people to the 40th percentile, and then the second year to move them to the 50th percentile. There were years, I think, that there was a little bit more bargaining authority, and so we were able to jump a group of people right to the 50th percentile. But I would say it's going to vary depending on the position. Most of the positions that moved to the market rate are still close in range to what the ERI software is saying the market rate is. I think, like Chris said, taking into account unique factors, of individuals is something that we had not gotten to addressing yet. Just so that you know, the software that we use, I think it's a $3,000 license, not a $6,000 license. The $6,000 one we want but can't afford. It uses data from the U.S. Department of Labor, Bureau of Labor Statistics. So it pulls from over 10,000 data points. We're able to control for geographic location, industry, organizational size. There's a bunch of different stuff. We can put all of that information in front of you. One of the things that you'll see, and we can get you numbers for Wednesday, Kurt, it updates quarterly. And so we saw this with Hurricane Irma. there's a lag period in the data. So after Hurricane Irma, we waited 3 to 6 months, and then we saw the rates for roofers skyrocket. I would imagine that we're going to see some of the same now after Hurricane Ian. We saw a lot of variability with the pandemic, where we would pull for one quarter and it would say food services is down, 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 because all restaurants are closed and there's not jobs for people that do that type of work. And then the next quarter's report came out and it's up, 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 because takeout service is big, and so delivery drivers also kind of out of nowhere were skyrocketed. I think that's something that kind of to Chris's point, we had talked about at one point in saying we're so far below the market on a lot of those positions that are on grade and step that it's unlikely that it would go back down and be harmful to people. I guess at this point we have seen that. We did see after Hurricane Irma, there was a point where for roofers, again, the rate kind of plateaued and then it started to slowly shift back down. I don't know what that will look like for all other positions. I know the inflation piece and the cost of living going up is going to factor in there. I would imagine that they will all be up from what they were this time last year. But some, again, in the next 6 months might go up even higher as demand for people doing those types of work increases.
Okay. Arlene?
Thank you. I just wanted to bring something to everyone's attention. Basically, with our unit with SPALC, and probably, well, how can SPALC? But I know we're here for SPALC tonight. Today, to buy a home, you would have to make $75,000 a year. The average house on the market is like $300,000. To buy a $400,000 home, you would have to make $110,000 a year. So not only can our people are struggling with feeding their children in rent, they're also struggling with, purchasing a home. Our people don't even make enough money to even purchase a home. Rent is $20,000 a year, and if you stay in that same rental property, landlords are going up from anywhere from $300 a month to $700 a month every single year. So it's like our people would have to move and come up with first month, last month on a $2,000 a month apartment, or they stay there and they eat the cost of $300 to $700 increase a month. So people really have it very, very hard, in the district. Our members want us to let you guys know that they are having it very hard. All of us are employees of the district, so we're not making, a lot of money either. We fall in these categories also. So I just want to, put that out there again. Because of course we talk about this every single year. And I'm gonna say what I said last year at the school district meeting. Help our people live and not die. Our people are literally dying. They cannot take care of their kids. I was a single parent of 4. I remember, the majority of my career here at the district, I always had 2 jobs, okay? And I always had to have another hustle, even to the point that when I retire, I know I have to work past then. And Rob, I want to ask you a question, because you keep mentioning the fact that, and I'm just trying to get clarification, you guys can't give us like a number right now on wages. It's because of Hurricane Ian. Can you please explain that to us?
I will turn this over to Kelly. She can discuss for you our current budget situation relative to the amount of taxes we've collected versus the amount of taxes we've collected in the past. So before that, Will wants to
goes first, right?
One of the other things, or at least I think like you said, this comes out in the story every year, and so I just wanted to highlight it too, because you mentioned retirement. Another one of the things that we have started looking at is we can see who's having payroll deductions to go to like a 403B retirement account, and have seen, I think recently, some of the rates of that have dropped off. Which, I mean, I think to your point, people are having to make the tough decisions and deciding that that money can't go to retirement. That money has to go to rent or childcare or, hurricane-related costs to help me cover to get through until the insurance check or the FEMA check or whatever arrives. So I just wanted to make sure that that was captured as well.
Okay, thank you. All right, Kelly.
Okay, so here's what we're up against with the hurricane. So as you all know, it was devastating to some of our communities. We had Fort Myers Beach, Sanibel, parts of the Cape that homes were totally lost. We, as part of the Florida Education Finance Program, the state gives you a flat rate funding model, right? Everybody gets the same amount per student across the state of Florida. The difference is if you're a high-taxed county, high tax-based county, the higher percent of that amount comes from your tax dollars versus from the state. We are a high-tax county, so our tax base is higher than most other counties. So 61% of our funding on the state calculation comes from our local taxes. So when you look at that, and then you look at the devastation that just occurred, and we've been working with the tax collector and property appraiser's office trying to get some numbers, we're estimating that we could be at a loss of about $50 million from Hurricane Ian in our tax base alone. So that means the amount of money that we thought we were going to get, we could be down $50 million. So that's a big hit to our budget. So when you look at the amount of money that's put out, the majority of our money goes towards salaries. So, when we talk about what we can offer, that has a big hit on it. Now that's our best estimate right now. We're hoping that it is not that high. We won't know for sure because what's happening right now is everyone, whether your home was totally devastated or not, you're expected to pay your taxes. And then the county is offering what they're calling an abatement program, but what it really is a refund of your taxes. So we met with them and went over, and that's where we came up with the dollar amount because they're assuming about a 20% loss in our tax revenue for those communities that were heavily impacted by the hurricane. So that takes away a large chunk of money that we were hoping to provide in salary increases. So the state has said that our administration has been meeting with the state, with the legislators, trying to see if we can't recoup some of that loss. It seems promising. Our problem is it will not come until the next school year for us. So it doesn't help us right now with trying to help fill that gap that we would love to fill in the compression and everything else that's going on. That's kind of where we're sitting right now.
Thank you. Anybody else? Sure.
I guess I understand that Lee also has a rather healthy fund balance, on top of that. So I guess we're ready to kind of look at the data, and when the district is able to give us a number, then we can move forward. I will say that it's just hearing from two of our colleagues tonight, we've heard a lot of stories around the move to market rate and the fact that it hasn't been funded in order for the rates to keep up to what is the true market rate. And we've heard more stories from our members this year than ever, really wanting SPALC to move into the opposite direction and go back to some sort of a grade and step system. Because for a lot of folks, they just don't feel that the market rate system is working. So that's, I just want that out there as we talk through these things, because that's a real concern on SPALC side.
Okay. Well,
I think one of the other things worth mentioning too is We heard some of the same sentiment from SPALC when moving to the market rate, because you had people on grade and step who had not gotten step increases. And there are people that are still there that can tell you, you know, I came in on step 8 and I've been on step 8 for the past 12 years. So I think your point about kind of stagnant pay applies regardless of the salary schedule. However, I do think it's worth noting that there were some of those positions, again, that saw pretty sizable increases up front with some of the movement to market rate. I know that looking at paras, for example, and bus operators, there's been movement, I think, in the right direction. I think the feedback that we've heard is not enough, and not enough to differentiate for people who meet kind of key constituent group categories, which, as you guys have shared, those are veteran people that have been doing it for a while, that, you know, they saw the bottom move up, but they never saw it catch up to where they were at, or never saw that you know, gap kind of put back in place to show that there's a spread, that it's not just there's one rate of pay no matter how long you've been here or how long you have been doing the job, period.
Okay, Arlise?
Yeah, so basically, you know, our members are saying that they have a problem with working, you know, 10 to 20 years. I think the greater amount of years I heard was 15 out of transportation. I talked to someone today, she has over 10 years in, she's in another department, and basically people are walking in the door, you know, making the same thing that they make, and people just really cannot, you know, understand how is that even possible, you know, when you have employees that's been here for over 15 to 20 years, and somebody walking in the door is actually making the same thing that they're making. They don't understand it at all.
Okay, anybody else? Yes, go ahead, Rob.
I didn't know if we were, Kurt seemed to be prepared to move on. I was gonna make a final comment relative to compensation and promise next time we meet, we will present to you figures and a proposed plan. But I did want to tell you that this school board, which was sworn in November, has been nothing but supportive of this process and has met with us on very short notice to discuss things that have been critical to us moving the process forward. So I just want that to be out there. And we're supportive of keeping the $16.2 million for health insurance, even though that was agreed to before Ian. And we're moving forward, obviously, because open enrollment is happening right now. So I just want that to be said.
Okay, Louis, I did see the mic go to you. Arlene?
Okay, so I just wanted to say, tell the board we said thank you for our good raise that we're gonna receive this year. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I'm sorry, Richard. Robert. I'll get it. Sorry.
Piggybacking on what Arlisa was saying, it's the same way in security. You know, you have guys that were here 10, 20, 25 years. I won't say what era, but they're here. And you have guys like myself that's on my 13th school year. I'm making the same amount as the guy walking in the front door. Great, I appreciate you for coming to work with us, but I always say, how can you live off of $21,000 a year? No one can do that, even definitely not in this market. So, you know, a lot of guys from the security department have that issue, and it would be great to, you know, that they can see something from this.
Okay, we do have a snapshot up here from back in August 22nd, pre-Ian, that, let's see, the story said need on SPALC to address compression due to 15-hour minimum wage, which we did. Look at the market rate, which we've talked about. Promote member benefit of highest degree supplement. Payment for longevity, increase of workload without compensation, record inflation and lack of affordable housing, we did hit on that. Alice report from United Way, October 14th, retention bonus will be paid. October 14th.
No, the date.
Oh, August 22nd, 2022?
It's like another world.
I know. It was another world, actually. So anything else on any of those topics you want to talk about? Or, yes, Chris? The mic is off, so you need to turn it on.
I had some questions about when you guys went to this market rate. You said that you've been running the numbers, but when did you plan to implement them? It seems like year after year went by, and there were no increases based on individuals or different departments or anything to that effect. So this has got, I think, everybody wondering, was this in name only? Is this not this market rate, was it just tied to a pay schedule?
Go ahead, Will.
There have been increases to people's pay, and I say that, I mean, we can go back historically and look at, again, some examples, HVAC and what people were making prior. I'm not saying that that's enough, and I know that, again, the key constituent group and what everyone has brought up is that experienced and veteran employees, that their time and effort has not been recognized appropriately. I think the other thing that you mentioned was certifications. I know that we had on there for, I don't know if it's interest or stories, looking at degree supplements.
Yes. Promote member benefit of highest degree supplement.
Yeah, so I think again, I think you're absolutely on point in terms of, you know, have we accomplished everything that we set out to? I think the answer to that is clearly no. I think probably what we'll end up talking about on Wednesday at SPALC Labor Management, it sounds like, is how much of a gap is there and how do we try and fill that gap? And that's with the available funds, some of the financial constraints that Kelly mentioned as a result of the hurricane impact. I think that, again, where we go and how we direct whatever money is available is the subject of this process. So it's not just you guys, like the district comes back and says this is what everyone's raise is going to be. It's negotiated each year, it's sent out, it's ratified by the bargaining unit, it's approved by the board. I mean, there's a lot of people involved in that, and so I think, again, we have the opportunity to rewrite that if we need to, and if we need to look at something, again, that lets people know that employment here is beneficial and there's a future in it. That's another big gap I think that we've talked about, is people saying it's not just about where I'm at right now, it's where do I expect to be in 10 years, and knowing that there's a path forward and that I'm not stuck on what I think you described as the flat rate, which is, again, I think what we hope to avoid to begin with, is that it wouldn't be flat.
Chris, did you have another question before Jason says something?
You know, I did want to touch upon, I'm guessing I'm not telling you anything you already know, but, you know, you're not able to retain anybody here. I mean, everybody's running out the door. So I would hope that they're looking at that as well. I think Barbara would probably know the numbers better than me, but I can tell you in the electrical department, we're 5 electricians down. We've been that way for the last 6-7 years at this point. And none of that was reflected within the market rate that I could tell, you know, over the years. But you guys are telling me you're looking to correct it. That's really what I want to hear. So we all want to hear that.
All right, thanks, Chris. Jason?
I would just add, too, that over the last several years, as we bargained salaries, I think what I'm hearing is that it's important to not just look at the whole bargaining unit as a whole or flat across, 2% raises, 3% raises, whatever, which we've done historically, but really look at some of those more highly impacted sub-job groups, because I think that those flat across the board increases, I think, increase the compression issues that Kurt is talking about. So there has to be a willingness, I think, by everybody to look at some of those job categories specifically that have experienced that the most. So just to point that out there.
Okay, thank you. Kurt?
Just one last quick thing, I promise. One of the lasting legacies of Jamie Michael is tons of SPALC historical documents. And I found one that goes back all the way to 2006 that talks about what the increases were and how they've been negotiated. And you kind of took the words out of my mouth. You can tell when state funding dropped off the face of the earth. You can tell when annual contracts went away. And then you can kind of tell when funding kind of, dipped down like 2015, 2016. So you're absolutely right. These 2%, 3%, 3%, that it does contribute to those things.
Go ahead, Will.
I think a couple other things worth mentioning. I know for people that are talking to friends or family or neighbors about kind of what types of increases they've seen recently. I know that the county had big increases of like 10%, the last year. In some instances, I think that was because they hadn't seen an increase in a couple of years. I think one of the other things, to the credit of the district, we haven't had large-scale reduction in force in some time. And I think that's because of people kind of positioning the district in a position where we're not having to lay people off because we have gone beyond our means. I also want to say, though, and I think kind of to Chris's point, the people have been, I think, very patient and kind of shown more patience than really could have been asked of them as we've tried to do what we've done with market rate. Again, I think the grade and step system that was in place was not perfect. You can ask administrators or salary scheduling people or people that are still on that grade and step for SPALC. The step that they're on does not reflect the number of years of service that they have. So I think as we're talking about how we're going to fix that, I think we need to look at what works, what doesn't work, and I know that we can say pretty definitively that having two systems running at the same time doesn't work. It's better to be on one, and that way at least it's easier to communicate out to people clearly, again, what their pay is, what they can expect it to be, and how it is that we're going about negotiating those changes. Because last year we gave people an 80-cent per hour increase, and a lot of people complained about that. Where the year before they had received 40 cents per hour. So they got double the increase that they had the year before, but again, it didn't get them far enough to closing that gap. And again, I think the patience has worn thin because people have those bills to pay. They have that hurricane damage. They have a lot of difficult decisions to make. And like you said, people aren't here for the money. They're here to serve kids, but pay is a motivating factor in some respects. And so, if you're not feeling valued, that hurts morale and that causes people to question what they're doing and why they're here. So again, just to acknowledge all of that, that is a conversation that I think is happening across the district in a lot of different employee groups.
Kurt, did you want to say something?
I did. I wanted to not leave without scheduling another
Yes.
date. So I think the next date is Monday, February 13th, is that correct?
That would be the next one, right. Talc is scheduled for the 6th, I believe.
And talc will be done on the 6th, so
Okay.
we might not have to do every other Monday after that.
So is February 13th okay for SPALC? Same time? Will?
We should have a new secretary in compensation and labor relations on that day. We've been almost a year without. Also, Chris, just to share with you, because again, I do feel your pain. We went down to Collier County for a conference on Friday. They have 9 people in their compensation department, and they're a third of our size. We have 3 people. We've seen the way that other people do it, and I would rather have more people to help solve this problem than fewer. But not to make Kelly or Rob squirm in their seats, I'll be putting my budget request in for that.
All right, do we want to schedule anything beyond the 13th? No?
I think we can do that.
Bonnie, did I see your hand go up? I know what you're gonna say. No, go ahead. I don't want to steal your thunder.
Before we conclude, I just wanted to put out the PSA that we are in the middle of open enrollment. If you have not done your open enrollment, now would be a great time. And if you have questions, I'll hang around if anybody has any questions or need any assistance with their open enrollment. Deadline is February 10th at 11:59. At 12 o'clock, it becomes February 11th and the system will shut down. So you have to have it done by February 10th. Thank you.
You're welcome. Will?
I promise I'm not trying to filibuster. Also, though, I think it's worth mentioning too that the benefits package that we have gotten through bargaining is going to be big for a lot of people. Like Arlise mentioned, having families and trying to cover them, the savings and the money that will put in people's pockets over time if they have spouse-dependent coverage, I think is something that you can't shrug at. We were looking at the numbers based on some of the open enrollment stuff that Bonnie put out, and for people that are currently covering their spouse and dependents on district insurance, the savings could be anywhere ballpark from about $2,000 to $7,000 annually. So that is to the credit of the people sitting at this table for kind of advancing that and moving that forward. But again, didn't want to miss that opportunity, especially because I think as some of the open enrollment stuff is going out, people are starting to see that. And that's not immediate, but there is some relief on the horizon for people that are trying to find affordable insurance that covers their needs and the needs of their spouses and dependents.
Okay. Anything else? Final words? All right, with that, have a good evening. Rob?
I was just going to thank you all, so thank you.
You're welcome.